What's up, everyone? This is Eflex, and welcome to A Producer's Approach. So if you guys didn't know, this is my new channel, A Producer's Approach, and basically the idea of this channel came from me doing an assignment in the past for an electronic music class that I took, where I was tasked to analyze a song of my choice to present to the class. So basically I had to pick apart the song by structure, how the sounds were used and how the sounds were panned. So how they oriented the sounds in your headphones, either to the left, to the right, or in the center. So for my A Producer's Approach videos will go as the video incites that basically I'm the producer, Eflex. If you guys haven't listened to my music, it's on my main channel, Eflex. But I've been producing music for about 8 years, and by no means am I a professional. I still view myself as an amateur, and I have a lot of things to learn. So with these videos, it kind of gives me a good test of my skills in terms of me breaking down certain songs, and it kind of gives a different perspective for these songs, I guess, from a producer's view. I don't know too many producers that break down other people's music. I mean, I've broken down and I've seen a lot of other producers break down their own music, but I haven't seen too many producers break down someone else's music. So I was just gonna do this for fun and just see how it goes, and hopefully you guys learned something from the video like this. But in any event, if you guys have any suggestions, just leave a comment down below. But for this video, we're going to be breaking down a song by Insan3Lik3 and Rob Gasser featuring Miyoki for the vocals called You Make Me Go. So those three artists, just in one title, is amazing. Insan3Lik3. Been following Insan3Lik3 since the Monster Cat days. So since I've heard Bad Pitched and The Other Day. Rob Gasser, I've been following him since I found him on Funky Panda earlier in the day. I think his song was No Idea. I think that was the name of his song way in the past. I can't remember. And then Miyoki, I remember her vocals from another Rob Gasser song, and I think first it was like Phosphor or Phosphorus by Faint was where I first heard her vocals. So I have a lot of familiarity with all three of these artists and making kind of a more funky electro house song. So I'll just be breaking down this song from what I hear and what aspects I like to hear, and maybe something I would do in producing music or something similar to when I produce and what they did. And then after that, I'll give my opinion of the song, and then after that, I'll just give like a rating of the song. So let's just dive into this song. And if there are any technical difficulties, my apologies in advance. My computer's been kind of spotty with the internet connection, so just bear with me if that does occur in the video. All right, let's get into it.
The silence becoming deafening. I swear I could have seen your body trembling.
So first off, it starts off with the vocal straight off and the plucks. So different than certain electro house songs that you would hear, actually even in this time in 2014, a lot of them start with a, I want to say, 30-second introduction, which is like a kick and a snare where it just kind of starts there and then starts with a kick snare, builds for 15 seconds, and then another 15 seconds adds like another sound and then a white noise riser to kind of build up. And then this part where she starts singing immediately would just be kind of like that intro break section. After that intro, this song, I like how it just starts straight away into it, and I like that you already can hear Insane Like's style and influence on the song. So if you heard those kind of detuned vocal chops after the vocals are said, it's kind of like a little bit of like a call and response per se. That's a very Insane Like touch, because Insane Like was one of the first artists, at least I heard, do a lot of vocal chopping, distorted, like kind of not distorted, but off key or half a step down vocal chopping and stuff. So his style was a lot of vocal chopping. So already straight away you can kind of tell his style is already pretty eminent right from the get-go.
Maybe we're right back to the start. Maybe it's been long enough since we fell apart. Maybe I just like the way the moonlight glistens on your lashes.
That was a really nice section. Every time I listen to it, I really love just listening to the vocals right off the back, and the balance between the vocals and the plucks and the kind of percussion with the clap and the other hi-hats playing. It's just like a really nice balance for an intro to a song. Personally, I do the more structured, where I give like a 15 or 30-second intro and then do a kind of a break section and then build up pretty quick. But I really like how this section just starts off with the vocal and the plucks. So it's kind of a nice breath of fresh air in terms of what I've been making, and this is a style maybe one day I could emulate and make for myself. But again, I love the balance, and then the transition from the vocals into this kind of, I want to say, kind of thinnish, distorted lead sound. To me, that sounds more like Insane-Like style than Rob Gasser's style, but that's just my opinion from listening to both songs from both artists, like quite a few songs. So to me, that just sounds a little bit like an Insane-Like lead sound, but I could be wrong there.
And we'll be fine, so long as we dance a little longer. And if it's all the
It's cool. So now this is kind of the build-up section. So that whole section before that was still kind of the break. And then I like how it transitioned with kind of this crunch sound. I never really noticed that before. The amount of times that I actually listened to the song, that was the sound of the transition sound. So that was pretty interesting to note. And then the pluck sound kind of, I don't know if it changed or maybe like the filtering maybe increased, but you could tell like the pluck sound was a little more prominent, and the vocals was a nice balance with that lead, kind of like as a call and response, I almost want to say, with the lead playing and the vocal answering. So now we'll get into the build up here.
same to you, the spell is broken, see through me. Just for tonight, we break the truth, 'cause you make me go.
Now, before I go into the drop, I just want to talk about that build-up, because in most songs that I've heard so far, usually in the build-up you use like percussion. Personally, I like to use snares or claps to kind of build up and like kind of have them stacked up, give a breath, like a measure for air, or maybe like half a measure for air, and then drop it pretty fast. But there's always usually some type of percussion. But in this song, there was no real percussion except for like the toms to transition from that break section into the drop. The only thing was the vocals were playing, the plucks were playing, and then there was like this white noise or really high frequency sound that was kind of filtering up or automating or playing up until like the transition percussion, I would imagine, toms hit, and then it drops. So there's no snare, no clap or anything to transition, which is very unusual. You don't normally hear that in most songs, especially in the EDM world. Most of them have like some type of big snare build up or some big clap or kick build up. So that's a very unusual build up for a song, which is really cool. I think it works really well, actually better than adding percussion there. So alright, so this section, you can kind of hear the blend of Insane3Lik and Rob Gasser's sounds. So if you've not listened to both of their music, Insane3Lik and Rob Gasser at this time in their stage of their producing careers, they had very similar styles, but Rob Gasser was doing a lot more pluckish sound design stuff, whereas Insane3Lik was doing some sound design stuff but more vocal chopping, so, and kind of funkier basses too, if that's the best way to describe it. So you can kind of tell that like the sound design wubs sound more like a Rob Gasser plugin or sound design sound, and Insane3Lik's contribution is kind of like the percussion, I almost want to say the percussion flow and like the overall flow of the drop itself. I do like the kind of hi-hats or open hi-hat hits kind of at the end of each measure, or the end of the phrase for the drops. It goes kind of in a row. That reminds me of a lot of deadmau5's songs. I know he kind of had that at the end of his bars. It's just like the part of like half of the drop would play out and then go I think the exact song is Where Are My Keys by deadmau5. He has a lot of those hi-hats that kind of hit like in sequential order, so that's kind of a nice touch. I do like songs that do that. It gives a little bit of a flow, a little more like almost realistic, organic feeling to the percussion as well. So that's just something to note. Pretty cool. You have kind of the ARP lead playing in the background, and then you kind of have the, I would almost call it like the bass line, but it's layered to have a lower layer and kind of a higher layer. It could even be a saw wave, but it's playing kind of more prominently than the ARP in the background. You notice that like you hear the like that kind of chord progression or phrase more so than the ARP lead. At least to me, that the kind of saws and that progression is more noticeable to me than the ARP lead kind of in the background. That seems a little to have a little more reverb and delay, so it's not you hear it, but it's not like as prominent as the main bass sound. And then you have all the different sound design sounds at the end of each measure, so that's really cool. At this time, I don't know if Serum was out, or if it was just starting, so it could either be a Serum or a Massive kind of wub or a different plugin, but I could tell, at least from me hearing it, those sound a little more like Rob Gasser kind of sound design wubs, but that's just what I think. So this section right here is kind of what I would describe as an Insane3Lik style section song, where you kind of have like a really kind of funky, groovy, plucky bass with like vocal chops, kind of playing in the high end every once in a while. This is probably the best representation of his style. And when you are an artist, and you collab like this, and if someone like me who listens to your song can kind of pick out like Insane Like style and Rob Gasser style in the song and in the collab, if you could pick out that like someone saying, oh, I like you contributed to this part of the song because it sounds like your style, then that's when you know, like, people know your style of music and that your style of music is more unique. Because if someone can pinpoint it right off the bat or after a couple listens, then your style is pretty noticeable and pretty known and pretty unique. So that's usually the job of a producer, is to try to make music that's in the realm of what you're making, but with your own spin and your kind of own unique flair, whether it be sound design, whether it be style, structure, certain sound effects, just anything to make you unique. So that's always a plus. So it's really interesting. This is kind of like one really, really, really long drop, but in various different sections. So in the last section, you kind of had kind of a break where it was like Insane Like's kind of pluckish and vocal chop kind of section. And then here you kind of have another section of the drop where it has a sound that goes da na 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 na. So it's kind of similar to the same arp, but from the first section of the drop, but it's a little bit different where this sound is a different sound than the first arp sound. So it's kind of in the same style as that first section of the drop, but it's just that the high-end arpish lead sound is switched out from what I can hear. So it's a really nice transition between that drop, because you don't even really notice the switch in the sounds for the lead, and like the lead cuts out for a little bit beginning in this section of the drop, which is really cool, because the other section, you had the kind of lead sound, new arpish lead sound playing, and then switches here. You don't really hear the lead sound for a little bit, and then all of a sudden you kind of hear it come in. So they didn't really need to introduce it in the previous section. Like, you can just kind of come in abruptly, but it's not really that abrupt because you already heard sounds within that frequency range. So pretty interesting to note.
The silence becoming deafening. I swear I could have seen your body trembling. Maybe we're right back to the start. Maybe it's been long enough since we fell.
So the song finally hit the second break. That's one of the longer drop sections I've heard in a song, but again, not every song has to have the same structure, and for this song, like, it works to have like a longer drop section where like each section kind of transitions and adds a different element into the drop. And for this part of the break, I do like how the claps come in on the offbeat, so it's kind of on the 2 and the 4 instead of 1 and the 3. So if you think of a measure, there's a 1 and a 2 and a 3 and a 4, kind of comes on the and. So 1 and 2. So yeah, it comes on the 2, and then the other hi-hats come on the and. So it's just pretty interesting. always gives it a nice flow when you don't really need the kick. You can just have like the clap and the hi-hat kind of playing at the same time, so along with the plucks and the vocals, so a really nice touch. Cool, yeah, so if you notice this kind of build-up section, pretty similar to the first style in the build-up section, still has no percussion really to do a build-up other than the kind of transitionary toms into the drop. So it's a flow, and it's a section that worked in the first section, so you could repeat in the second section, and just the flow of it works. So if it works, or if it isn't broke, why change it, right? So here's the drop section. So in the drop section here, it's similar to the first part of the drop, but you do notice in the drop section that the percussion doesn't stand out a whole lot. Like the hi-hats aren't in a super high frequency where they kind of hurt your ears. That's something personally I'm trying to balance in terms of working with percussion. Like you notice like their percussion's really smooth, not kind of ear piercing in the higher end, kind of just gels together. So I just wanted to point out that's kind of a nice touch in the drop to make your percussion a little more manageable, not have a super high amount of high end to where it kind of hurts your ears in a sense, but that's just my opinion. So I think in this section of the drop, it kind of switches a little bit. I think it might be a percussion change for a little bit, or a transition, so we'll see here. I don't know, I just found that section pretty cool because it kind of had kind of a, what I like to call kind of like a grind section where it's playing and a lot of the sounds, like you hear the wubs and stuff, sound design, kind of just you hear that, and then that goes on for a section, then it transitions into a place and section where the lead starts playing. So you kind of have like a showcasing of your sound design sounds, and then after that you have a showcasing of your lead sound in the song. So just something I thought was pretty cool in the song. Alright, So sorry about that. Didn't realize that the song was gonna switch over in my playlist so fast. But so that is pretty much You Make Me Go. The outro was pretty cool. Just reminded me of the section in the last part of the first drop. There wasn't a stereotypical or more typical structured outro with a 15 to 30 second kind of kick snare outro. Overall, this song for the 2014 era was kind of the start of the cleaner electro, and Insane3Lik's style at this time was a lot funkier. So it was kind of like a more funky version of electro now. You could kind of just tell by the vibe of the pluck sounds and just the vocal chopping too, and the overall feel of the song. But overall, I give this song a 8.5 out of 10. It's really good. It's not like my absolute favorite song from Insane3Lik and Rob Gasser, but it really is a unique one because you don't really hear funky kind of electro complextro songs in the year 2014. You hear still a lot more of the stereotypical electro and complextro, but I remember around this time that electro was evolving, and this song is on Xketo, but Monster Cat was promoting and releasing a lot of electro at this time. So I think 2014 and 15 was kind of like the electro era. I remember when people were complaining about too much electro on Monster Cat, and now there's not that much electro anymore. So people are now maybe wanting more electro. So can't ever win, but overall, Insane3Lik and Rob Gasser, you really can't go wrong with these two. But personally, I kind of like it when a Uvik and Rob Gasser collab on songs, and I'll probably do reviews of their songs in the future. But when a Uvik and Rob Gasser collab, like, whew, man, those are really good songs. So overall, this is my take on breaking down Insane3Lik and Rob Gasser and Miyoki's song You Make Me Go. I hope you guys like this breakdown. Again, I'm not like the most knowledgeable person, but I just kind of give my insight on what I hear from listening to the song, and I hope you can take away something from this video. And if you have any suggestions for how to improve, feel free to leave a comment. If you like the video too, give this video a like, or you can also comment that as well. And if you feel like subscribing to see more content like this, then feel free to hit that subscribe button. Otherwise, that's it for this video, and I hope you guys enjoyed. All right, have a good one, everyone. Peace.